We're on a trip to Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park today. There's a small group of us who have come from Richmond, from different green spaces in Richmond, and we're going to have a look at, we're going on a tour led by Ken Greenway from Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park to see how they do things in the park. It's a very, very dense urban environment, lots of different things they do to do with biodiversity, with kids, with volunteering, so we're going to see how they do things.
That was prevalent in the late 1960s was knock it down and start again, and we very much suffered with that attitude here. We lost both of our chapels because this was an all-inclusive cemetery. Being in East London with the docks, we had people from all over the world living around here, like we still do today, and the whole of London does. So we had chapels that accommodated all life perspectives, and so both those chapels were demolished, the catacombs were collapsed. And then they began removing these, not from here, but in elsewhere in the cemetery park, mainly along our southern swathe. They put the diggers down, the bulldozer plate down, and they began pushing. So there we have a labyrinth chalk maze here, so that's in one of the additions to the cemetery park, and we built that initially just as it was a folly. It really is a folly. It's a redoing of one that existed there before that was built in early 2002. So we wanted to create a chalk feature within our clay meadow. So we came upon the idea of creating a big chalk platform, and we created a labyrinth style maze by inserting grasses, sods of grass on it. So we were approached by urban bees who had a grant from the Co-op Planned Bee campaign about 4 years ago, who were looking for new locations for hives, and we said, yeah, we'll have it. So we had a company helped build the fence, they paid for the fence, the enclosure, and then local people were trained up, and they're our beekeepers. So we're historically one of London's magnificent 7 cemeteries. We opened in 1841, and we closed by Act of Parliament and was redeclared a public park in 1966. Various elements of work happened to create a park. So we did have the Greater London Council remove our chapels and the catacombs and about 0.7 acres of our heritage, but local opposition, the early days of us as an organisation, kind of prevented most of that work continuing as originally planned. And then the GLC were abolished in 1985 by Margaret Thatcher, and that's when it came over to London Borough Tower Hamlets, and so they're our landlord, and we the Friends were formed in 86, becoming constituted in 1990, and a charity very quickly after that, and we've been here ever since. We manage it as a place for wildlife, people and education. We're the only woodland in the borough, we're the most urban woodland in London. We're a designated local nature reserve and a site of metropolitan importance for nature conservation. So we're trying to create a home for all of London's life, not just the two-legged hairless apes. There are about 7.5 million of us. We want a place that has lots of unusual and common wild plants, spring bulbs, grasses. We want lots of wildlife to be seen here. So it not only does it offer a place for wildlife that makes London its home, it offers a place to people to get away from the city, to swap the sounds of the city for the sounds of nature, to hear birds sing and smell different things and hear the wind through the trees, and just have that sense of escapism, which I think is something most people who live in a city really strive for. There's 380,000 people buried here, so that's more people buried here than there are alive in this borough. I guess anyone could be hurt by our monuments here, but I guess one of the fears we have is we don't know how strong our monuments are, and some of our larger monuments here, there is that fear that yes, it most likely would be a child would climb one, and then that monument crumbles, at worst kill them, and then the council may have a knee-jerk reaction that monuments over a certain site would be brought down. I get the main issues for us are funding. I think all charities struggle with funding. Core funding is a big thing for all charities. It's easy to find money for projects and capital works, but to find that funding to keep you viable as a charity, to pay staff, is really hard to find.
I'm an active conservationist.
You're welcome, thank you.
Who've been working here for 10 years, cutting trees down, planting trees, creating wildflower meadows, bog gardens, green woodworking. Yeah, and this is the forest within the East End of London. Well, it's the enclave in London. There's more recorded species of butterflies here than anywhere else in London.
So for us, being imaginative about generating revenue is a big part of things for us, so that we don't depend entirely on council support.
Scruffy, Archer and me, we're the last of the plant hunters.
Because without staff, nothing happens here. Volunteers are the backbone of our day-to-day work and support, but you need staff to support that process. The council regard us positively. We have a good relationship with the council in terms of how we view each other, but our relationship with the council is sadly one of neglect. While we have the contract to take forward the maintenance and litter, the council are still the landlord. It is still their site. It is still their third largest park in the borough, but I don't feel, and I think the rest of the charity would agree, that they don't play a fair share of their role here in terms of supporting us. We don't have the vehicles to deal with fly tipping. We don't have a lot of the support structures that the council have, that they offer parks. So things can take a very long time to get resolved here. You know, we've got broken street lights that have remained broken for the last 3 years. We've got dangerous broken holes in the ground, and we've got an unresolved monument report looking at the structural strength and integrity of our monuments, and coming up with a plan of how we can start to consider a program of restoration and repair that's been unfulfilled since 2007. So it is tough. I really want to see a fair celebration of the partnership. I think the fact that the council trusted third sector group to manage a council asset is something to be really proud of, and I think as friends of groups we're quite unique. I don't think there are many friends of groups that do all the things that we do. Most friends of groups kind of support and add value to council services that are already happening. I guess if I could get the council around a table and ask one thing of them, I would say, please play your part fairly with us. You know, when we need help, reply and respond to emails. You know, don't ignore us. You know, I know there's a great deal of trust with us here, but we can't do everything, and we do need the council to play their part fairly. So I would just say, be an equal, fair partner.